Before we get much further, I think it's important that we go over div tags. So we've been making things with tables, and tables were super awesome at the time, but we don't really do that much anymore. So we've talked a little about styles, and I've told you that tables are no longer popular, at least not for design layouts. We can still show data with them, and we can still use tables, but it's not the ideal way to do things now. So the question is, well, then what do we do? And the answer is div tags. So we're going to play a little bit with div tags today, as well as play a little bit with styles, and they kind of go hand in hand. So we're just going to create something simple. So we're just going to create a simple table, or what you would typically do with a table. Even though you'd often do this with the table instead, because this is what tables are meant for, I'm going to show you how to do this with div tags because, well, it's kind of an easy thing to wrap your head around. So if you think about what you're looking at right here, the way we would typically do this is we would have a table tag. So a table with whatever border 0, cell padding probably 0, cell spacing, probably 0, or whatever you want. And inside you'd have a TR tag for a table row for this row, and you'd have 4 TD tags. So a TD tag, a TD tag, a TD tag, and a TD tag. And then you'd close each one of them out, obviously at the end of each set of data, and you'd close out the table row. And you'd do almost the exact same thing beneath it. So a new table row, a TD tag, open and close, a TD tag, open and close, etc., etc. Close the table row, close the table, done. And that's pretty easy to do, and that's pretty efficient for something like this. We're going to do this in div tags, and div tags is probably not the most efficient way to do this right now with what you know, but we're going to do it anyways because it's going to give you a simple introduction to div tags, and we'll be moving into things that will make div tags more efficient, and you'll start to understand why we do stuff with div tags now instead of with tables. Okay, so we're going to go into brackets, and we're just going to make a new document. And we're going to go ahead and save it as, well, let's go to my desktop first. And we're going to save it as dog battle div tags.html. We're just going to start out with the basic tags that you'd expect. So we're going to do our doc type like we've been doing lately. HTML, we're going to put a head tag. Inside we're going to put a title tag. This will be Ultimate Dog Battle Scoring. And we'll do a body tag. And so next we would start our table, right? Instead, we're going to do div tags. And we're going to do div tags very much the way that you would expect the table to look. We're going to nest div tags inside of one another to create the sort of the table shape, to create sort of the row shape, and then to create sort of the individual data, the individual cells inside of that, those TD tags. So it's going to look very similar, which is kind of why we're doing this, because it's a more gentle introduction. So that would be like our table tag there. We'll do another div. This would be sort of like our row tag here. And actually, I'll go ahead and leave that space. And inside of this would be our 4 columns, right? So this would essentially be that first row. And let's go ahead and put some information here, some data in here, so we can see if it's working. So ultimate dog battle, so let's have some dog teams. So we're going to go with team Corgi, because who doesn't love corgis? And in the first one, we're going to put, we'll go with 6 points. So Team Corgi scored 6 points in the first events. And the other one, maybe they didn't do so well, so maybe only 4 points. And the last one, they did fantastic, so 7 points. Nice job, corgis, good job. And let's see what happens. So we're going to go ahead and save this. We're going to go ahead and hit live preview. And great, we have data, but it's not the way I want it to look. and that's okay. So right now, we haven't told the browser how to view these div tags. What we're going to do is we're going to put some styles in here to tell it what to do. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a style in the very first tag, the very first div tag, which works sort of like our table tag. And we're going to tell it that we want the width to be, I don't know, 600 pixels. That sounds reasonable to me. And we're going to tell it that we want margin to be 0. And we'll go ahead and toss auto in there for fun. The next thing is we have this row here, right? So this is sort of like the row. And so we're nesting these div tags one inside the other. So we're going to do a style tag once again. And inside of this, well, actually, we don't even really need to put anything. We could just leave it just how it is. We didn't even need to put anything on that one either. It's not really important. So we can use this, we can style this in a certain way if we want to. So let's do maybe padding top, and we'll do like 10 pixels. So cool. Actually, there we go. Oh, okay. Yeah, not exactly where I was expecting that to go, but it's okay. Well, we're gonna keep working with this. Maybe I want a background. Background color equals light gray. I've got some stuff here. You can see the padding, you can see the color, you can see it's working, you can see the spacing. Next, we need to actually give these some style. So I'm gonna go ahead and make some white space here to make this a little bit more organized. Oops. There we go. And there we go. So it looks a little bit more like a table, like the way that I'm used to seeing. So we're going to go with style equals width 150 px. We're going to do a float left, and we're going to do text align. We're going to do right, and we're going to do a font weight, spelling helps, 600. Does it see 600? Yes, it does. Very good, very good, very good. So it's bold. You can go up to 900 on the weights. Not all fonts can display up to 900. Some of them only have like 1 or 2 or 3 different weights. Some of them have like 100, 200, 300, all the way up to 900. But they jump in increments of 100. And I mean, you just have to kind of play with it and see, like, does the one you want have the weight you want? So instead of retyping out that style each time, I'm going to go ahead and Control-C. And I'm going to Control-V into each one of these. But I'm going to change a couple things. I only want this to be 100 pixels in the width. And I want the text align to now be center. And I don't want this to have a weight. I want it just to be just plain old regular weight. So now I've done that, I'm going to recopy it. So Control-C and Control-V and Control-V. And let's save it. And there we go. It's interesting that gray disappeared. Why is that gray way up there? Interesting. Little quirks sometimes. So we've got all of those floats in there. Now there is a little problem with floats. Sometimes floats will kind of go a little crazy. I'm going to actually make this a little bit bigger, so that way you can see without all the obnoxious wrap around. Now that my lines are getting a little bit long. There we go. So I'm going to add a new div in here right after the current one. And it's going to be really simple. It's just going to be style equals, and it will be clear and both. And that's it. And that's fine. So I want to do a couple other things too. Above all of this, I actually want to make a header. But I don't need all of this other stuff. So I'm going to delete all of these div tags. And we're going to make this, let's see, so this is 150, 250, 350, 450. So this is going to be 450. And we're going to make this center. And we're going to make this 900. It will be Ultimate Dog Battle. Actually, battle, maybe not quite the word I want. Maybe competition. I don't want anyone to think I'm not promoting dog fighting. Just like some sort of like friendly dog competition between Team Corgi and whoever the other team will be. Alright, so there we go. That's interesting. Doesn't matter. So just sort of interesting the way that things are looking, are turning out. Oh, right. So I made the div style 600 pixels, but I made this one only 450. So, right. Good job. And I don't think I want that little light gray band above, so we'll go ahead and get rid of that. There we go. That's starting to look the way that I want. So we're going to add one more in here for their competitors, because, I mean, you've got to have competitors, right? And this will be Team Chihuahua. And I think I even know how to spell that. Chihuahua. And it was, you know, a very valiant attempt on Team Chihuahua's part. And I mean, they even one-upped the Team Corgi on the second competition, but overall they just couldn't compete with Team Corgi. I mean, you know, they're Corgis. It's, you know, it's not really Chihuahua's fault. And there you have it, a table. Now I added a few extra things I didn't have in the other one, just, you know, because it kind of shows some different things. So I could have created exactly the same way, but I decided to add in a few extra things. I think I'm going to also remove this light gray, and I think actually that padding as well. Oh, you know what? I'm going to keep the padding, and I'm just going to move the padding to... Ooh, actually I'm going to keep the light gray also. I'm going to add the padding to the bottom. So that's why we have that light gray there, because the padding, that is not how I expected it to look. Nice job. Alright, we're going to go ahead and remove the light gray. I'm actually going to go ahead and add the light gray underneath. I'm just going to go ahead and make a new div tag. There we go. We'll just call it that. Well, that should look... There we go. That's what I wanted. So you can see you can play with some different things. Now, I do want to show you real fast what happens if we remove the floats. And sometimes it can cause chaos or things to look a little weird, and sometimes there seems to be no effect whatsoever. So let's just see what happens. Yeah, look at that. That is not good. And so the reason why we need the float or the clears is because since this wasn't the same width as the overall container, the overall div tag of the 600, remember when I added them all up it only became 450, this is now moving over to eat up that space. So that's the issue. So you need those floats in there to help keep things where you intended them. Otherwise it can get fairly gross. So there you go. So there is my shortly longer than I intended tutorial on creating a table with div tags. Now it's your turn. So make me a table. It can be silly if you want, like mine. But yeah, make me a table using div tags, and I want you to upload the .html file so I can see that you used div tags and not table tags.